Good day, fellow Jersey Nerds, and welcome to episode 39 of the Jersey Nerds podcast, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. I'm Ryan, your host, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the newly released 2019 NHL Winter Classic logo. We're also going to be taking a look at Fake or Authentic. The HJC Mailbag, Throwback Throwdown is on this episode, and as always, we want you guys to get involved. You can email us your thoughts anytime. Mailbag at HockeyJerseyConcepts.com, or you can connect with us on Twitter at HockeyJC. Joining us this week is Monday's writer, Shawn. Shawn, how's your freshly burnt pizza treating you?
It is not burnt, Ryan. It's cooked perfectly, sitting on the counter. It should probably have a towel under, but yeah, kind of a dry news Jersey-wise.
Also joining us on this episode, Friday's writer TC. What's going on?
Not much. Just hunkered down in the middle of a thunderstorm, ready to record a podcast.
There we go. And friend of the show, constant contributor, the center of the HJC Oreo cookie, Bpoe, also joining us this week. What's going on?
About to do a podcast again, Ryan.
Yeah, that's what you said last week, and you warned me before we recorded that you were going to do that, and you went ahead and did it. So now
and you didn't listen.
We're all here. There's nothing exciting at all going on in our lives. It's time to start the podcast. And the big piece of news coming out this week is probably a day that most of us anticipate or look forward to throughout the year, and that is the release of the Winter Classic logo. This year's game being held at Notre Dame Stadium, the 2019 edition. We got to look at the logo, and the main portion of it is a green clover leaf. It's frosted, which is what fan brands and NHL like to tell us. It's a frosted clover leaf. It's outlined in navy. At the bottom is a gold banner, which reads Notre Dame Stadium. The NHL shield is there, of course, typically off to the left rather than centered so that they can put it on the ice surface and the red line doesn't cut through the logo. And then typically you have the word mark right in the middle, 2019 Winter Classic, the big Bridgestone sponsor right there on the bottom. One thing I did note interestingly this year is the puck, which crosses over the T in some versions of the Winter Classic logo, is actually going towards the W, and the puck dots the I. It means absolutely nothing, but it's a little bit different from how they've done it the last few years. We're going to go over the things that we like about the logo, things that we don't like about the logo, and just go from there, and we'll probably talk about our favorite Winter Classic logos of all time. So, Shawn, start us off. What do you like about this logo?
Well, first and foremost, I think it does a great job of the fact that this game is technically at a neutral site in that, there's no NHL team in Indiana, so there's no real home team in this. There's no real way. This is a neutral site, so I like that the logo is made for Notre Dame Stadium. It's not Boston's colors with a little shamrock. It's not Chicago with a little shamrock. And I like that it's so green. I think that's like, you think about it, you look at all the previous Winter Classic logos, with the exception of 2010, they're all majority blue. And I think this is a good switch from it. It obviously, the green might be something that stands out too much on the jerseys, perhaps. But as is, I think that this is a solid logo.
If the green stands out on the jerseys, I think that'll be mission accomplished. I think that's kind of what they're looking for here, unless they just go way off the board and both teams are wearing like green jerseys, kind of like St. Pat's Day inspired jerseys, but I don't see that happening. TC, what do you like about the 2019 Winter Classic logo?
I actually wrote up a piece on this logo when it first debuted. I really think they did a great job with this. It's a lot simpler than other designs we've seen in the past. Obviously, it has the classic Winter Classic word mark. You were saying in previous years it had not been used to dot the I. Actually, with this new one, there are 3 where the puck dots the I. That's 2013, 2013-14, 2017-18, and now this one. And then the 3 between 2013 and 2017, it's going the opposite way. So it's a 50-50 split on those. But I do like that, as Shawn said, most of them are usually predominantly blue. I do like that there's a different color used for this one. The Shamrock is a great move. It lets people know, hey, it's being played at Notre Dame. Like, that's there. You think Notre Dame, you think four-leaf clover, or a drunken racial stereotype. That's one option. But most people think the Shamrock. On top of that, the two teams playing, Chicago and Boston, those are teams with strong Irish heritage, so it could easily apply to either of them and tie in with them.
Bpoe, what are you liking about this logo?
I don't have too much more to say than what was already said. I do really like that they kind of went with something that, like Shawn said, neither of the teams are technically the home team. So, like most of the Winter Classics, they went with kind of where it's going to be played. Most of them are because of a host team, but this one still goes with where it's going to be played. I do like the puck dot in the eye, as was done before. The green color does make it stand out from the rest of the Winter Classic logos. And I also noticed, too, I mentioned this in our chat, the E is actually an uppercase E in there. I don't dislike that at all. Other than that, I basically just have to agree with everything else that was said.
So the next step here is that we're obviously going to move on to things that we don't like about the logo. And I'm glad you touched on the E there, because that part is kind of driving me nuts, because the W is an uppercase. Pardon me, INT and the R are lowercase, but that E is an uppercase. That is just bothering the hell out of me. I guess if you really wanted to stare at it for a long time, you could convince yourself that it is a lowercase E, sort of cut off by the R, but that's a stretch. But that's what drives me nuts about this, and just the fact that they felt the need to go ahead and frost the clover, it just seems, again, a bit of a stretch. But it is the Winter Classic, so I sort of understand why it is done. But Bpoe, maybe you can share something that you're not so fond of with this logo.
The more I'm looking at that E, actually, it's kind of weird how it looks like a lowercase E, but it's not, because of the way it's separated. I'm not sure I like it or dislike it, but it does look kind of like the spacing between the T, E, and R is a little bit off, like the E is too close to the R. That's one thing I can say I dislike. Other than that, there's not too much I dislike it, but it doesn't really wow me like, oh my god, this is the best Winter Classic logo ever. Which, jumping the gun a little bit, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to choose this one as the best Winter Classic logo ever, unless you're a huge Fighting Irish fan, then maybe, understandably, you could choose this one. TC, maybe something you don't like about this logo?
The E has already been touched on. It's confusing. The only explanation I can think of is it sort of gives it a Celtic script feel, which could tie into it. But I'm going to have to agree with you and say that the frosting of the Shamrock is a bit unnecessary. You already have the frost in the logo. Why put it on the Shamrock itself?
All right, Shawn, what are you thinking here?
I think that it's better than heathering.
Shawn was in the middle of the best pizza bite ever. You don't even understand how good this frozen pizza is.
Didn't your mother ever tell you not to speak with your mouth full? This is like Jets 96 is ashamed of you right now. Oh, Mother 96.
All right, Shawn, serious question. What's better, the pizza or the logo?
Well, the pizza, but I'm really hungry. I mean, they're about the same. You know, it'll never be the best, but it's a lot better than, you know, some of those other years. Honestly, what I think my biggest problem with this logo is I don't know what it is about it, but I can't stand the Navy. And don't get me wrong, I get why it's there. Kind of needs to be there.
I know why. You
Yeah,
would
it has
rather
to do
be
with
black.
Oh, damn it, Bpoe, you're right.
You heard it here first. Not only does Jets like the color black, but he is also anti-military?
Not, I'm a Padres fan.
I thought you were going to say you were upset that it wasn't a pizza, but anyways, that's a topic for another day.
Let Jets enjoy his pizza. Yeah.
All right. So let's give this logo a rating. Out of 10, our usual rating system here for the podcast. Looking at this Clover-centric 2019 Winter Classic logo, I'm going to go ahead and give this an 8. Because when it came out, and people, a lot of comments on the internet about how plain and basic it was. But really, what else are you going to do? You had the option of going with the Clover or kind of the image of the stadium as they did back in 2014. So what else are you going to do? It's straightforward. It's to the point. You understand what's going on here. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. TC, what's your rating for the logo?
I'm going to go with an 8 as well. I think there are a lot of people who said it was a little too plain, but I actually think that, sometimes less is more. Like, this gets the point across, and where it is, the theme of it, obviously lets you know that it's a Winter Classic with the classic word mark. The only thing I could think that would have made a better one is to take the Touchdown Jesus mural and put him in full goalie gear.
That would have been good too. Let's go to Bpoe because Shawn's got his mouth full again.
I do not.
We'll go to Bpoe. What's your rating, Bpoe?
I'm going to jump in with one more quick dislike that I thought of. The script inside the logo is a little bit small compared to like some of the other Winter Classic logos, and I think that's a bit of a negative because it kind of takes the attention away from it. Like most of them, you see it kind of breaks the outer edge of the symbol. It doesn't really do that here, and I think it should be bigger to draw a little bit more attention to that, but I'm going to also have to agree with the rating of 8.
Another 8. Shawn, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with the 8. I do like the fact that it's simple, actually. Last year's I felt was a little too complicated, particularly, and not that it actually was complicated, it just looked complicated, particularly with that giant railroad spike-esque X.
Yeah, last year's was not my favorite, definitely.
No, and I mean, neither is this one. I'll start. My favorite's 2014-15. With the Maple Leafs Red Wings one being a close second. Those two, I think, really nailed the balance between too simple and too complicated for an event logo and how to make a logo look on a jersey and that sort of thing. But this is a good. This I think is a one of the top. It's in the upper 50%. Let's put it that way.
So, I mean, no math to be done here. 8 is our average score, which is definitely fair for this logo here. Shawn, you already
sure? Are you sure that's the rating?
I've triple checked that math, and it's good to go.
Bpoe's on the fence now.
It's kind of an 8. I don't know, 7, 9, somewhere around there.
6.795.
And you'd be so
Which
cut.
rounds up to an 8.
If you gave it that kind of rating, I'd just cut you right out of the podcast.
Bpoe died, so no more fun.
It'd be like when Shawn
Bpoe
disappeared
died
last
on his
week.
way back to his home planet.
I have to go now. My planet. There's peanut butter sandwiches on my home planet.
I have to go now. My ma needs me. All right. So, Shawn, you touched on it. Your favorite logo, 2015 from Washington. We'll all talk about our favorite Winter Classic logos of all time here, but why does 2015 come out as the best one for you?
I think it's my favorite Winter Classic jersey-wise. I think that I love the Chicago jersey. I wear it all the time. I think it's simple enough that it made enough changes that it worked. But Washington's jersey was, amazing. We all love that jersey. And the logo itself, I think that, I really like the way that they made the American flag look 3D, like it was draped over on the top. I actually really, really like the vintage white used at the bottom of the logo.
Vintage white. Yeah, that one heavily featured vintage white, and all the secondary logos too, and all the programming for it. But I mean, it's the Winter Classic. What else are you going to do? Let's go to TC for your favorite Winter Classic logo.
My favorite Winter Classic logo is the 2017 St. Louis. I like that the base of it is just the simple signage, but what really clinches it for me is the fact that the W, they took the standard Winter Classic script and turned the up swoop of the W into the St. Louis Arch. I think that was a great move, a fantastic way to take an existing sort of templated design, get your own.
Bpoe, favorite Winter Classic logo?
I was also going to say 2017. TC stole a lot of what I was going to say. What I really like about it was, like he said, the W turning into some of the shading on the arch. And I think just the type on this is done really well. I really like all the type that they use. The shading and the detailing is done really well, especially, again, how that W kind of turns into one of the sides of the arch. And it's just a very overall pleasing logo.
And my favorite Winter Classic logo is 2010 from Boston. I think you can totally identify. I love the brickwork on the logo. I love the green behind the word mark. Totally ties into Fenway Park. I get it. I love the use of the old style lamppost on there. Just really love the way that logo is put together. I think it really stands out when compared to all the other logos. Let's go off the script a little bit here. And why not do our least favorite from the batch? But let's exclude 2008 from that because it's obviously the least flashy of all the logos. So you can't choose 2008, but let's choose our least favorite logo. We'll start with you, Bpoe. Least favorite Winter Classic logo.
I was actually thinking about this the other day with absolutely no anticipation of doing this on the podcast. And ironically, it's the only one that I attended, the 2011 one. It just, for some reason, looks really dated to me compared to all the other ones, and I'm not really sure how I felt about it at the time, because I wasn't really into jerseys as much then, I didn't really think about it, but I guess maybe it's the gray, maybe it's the weird sort of steel effect, or that rectangle. I don't really know what it is about it. It just has a bit of a dated look to me. I don't really know why, but I'm not a huge fan of it.
Let's go to Little Caesar himself, Shawn. What's your least favorite Winter Classic logo?
It's tough to pick a least favorite here because none of them are bad. Let's start with that. None of these logos are bad. It was last year's. It was honestly last year's. It's that stupid golden or X that kills it for me. Otherwise, it was a good game, good logos, but it honestly looks like they added depth for no reason, and it complicates the logo to the point where if you're looking at it at a distance, it looks like it has a lot more detail than it actually does. But if you look at it up close and you look at it, it's just like it's a big blank space with an X in front of it. But the way that they've drawn it, it's like, it looks very deep. It's a mess.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. TC, least favorite Winter Classic logo?
Well, I was going to say Pittsburgh, but Bpoe stole my thunder there. So I'm going to go ahead. I know, it was just payback. So I'm going to go with Boston 2010. I know it's your favorite, but I just don't like it. The brick coloring combined with the green, yes, it gives the idea of Fenway, but, Fenway is predominantly a baseball venue. So why would we draw attention to that fact? The lamppost, I think, is entirely unnecessary. The script itself looks like someone drew it up in MS Paint. And just the puck shooting out from under the winter and off screen, I guess, just seems like the only thing other than the giant NHL badge that really gives me the idea that it's an authentic Winter Classic logo instead of some fan art that someone drew.
Fair enough. I can totally understand that the basic script, but
Yeah, speaking of the wonky looking script, guess what's on the 2011 one? a very slightly refined version of that.
Yeah,
Very slightly refined.
that was another reason why I hated that Pittsburgh one.
You know what? I'm going to come to the Pittsburgh one's defense. I like that. I guess I like the round ones more.
I tend black. That explains it.
That too. No, but I prefer the Stadium Series version of that logo to the Winter Classic one, and that one uses navy. But no, the rounder Winter Classic logos, I think, look a lot better than the Shield ones, because they just tend to look a little too elongated, I think. I don't know. I think that round event logos really aren't something you see very much.
The thing that gets lost about the 2011 logo, and it's stuff nobody ever saw or cared about, is all the supplemental marks that went along with it, and that those really played on the whole steel theme. The logos that included the team logos in them, they were all framed with that kind of steel looking work in it. But for me, my least favorite Winter Classic logo is 2012 in Philadelphia. I obviously get the bell. But the part that really gets me is the puck that really gets lost. You're supposed to believe, I guess, it's swinging around in the bottom part of the bell. But I really think it gets lost in there. I think, like Shawn mentioned, last year's 2018 Winter Classic logo, where really it's just an X in front of blank space. That's just a bell in front of a sky blue oval. So for me, that one's my least favorite Winter Classic logo. That's what we got on the Winter Classic logos. I'm sure we'll have more when we see some Stadium Series logos. I'm thinking we're going to have to wait a while for jerseys, but of course that's going to be a huge day.
Well, just to remind the viewers, the next Stadium Series is in
Philly.
Right.
So
versus Pittsburgh.
Maybe we'll have another terrible Bell logo. But of course, we got a whole bunch of stuff coming up this summer that we don't control, but third jersey releases are going to be at the top of the schedule, so look out for that. But now it's time to get to our regular features, including Throwback Throwdown. For this edition of the Throwback Throwdown, we're going not too far back. We're going to the dawn of the Reebok Edge era, 2007, 2008. And in this matchup, there must be a winner. You absolutely have to choose a winner. There's no sitting on fences or saying, I choose neither. Because this is just an awful, awful matchup. We're looking at home jerseys, dark jerseys. We're starting off with the Nashville Predators 2007, 2008 Reebok Edge jersey. How to even describe this? This is panels. That's what this is. We got silver sleeves. I think the base of the jersey is navy. There's 2 white panels down by the wrists and moving up towards the elbow, but they're covered by those silver sleeves. And inexplicably down by the sides of the torso, there are another white panel. We got some gold piping running from the collar down under the arms and disappearing. That's pretty much all I can say about this monstrosity. Going up against this monstrosity is another monstrosity. This one had the moniker of pajama top. It's the Edmonton Oilers navy home jersey. They were still using copper and red at this time. They went with the curved and expanding Reebok arm stripes, but they also went with sleeves, except the sleeves were navy, just like the jersey. So the arm stripes are cut off and only appear kind of underneath the arm. It's a big bronze or copper stripe, outlined in red, outlined in navy, outlined in white. Classic Oilers logo, but it's been ruined with navy and copper. So let's go. Shawn's already mumbling under his breath, so let's go to Shawn with his Nashville review.
These things. I don't hate them. You must understand I'm a little nostalgic for them, and a lot of players I liked as a kid, like Paul Curry and Jason Arnott, they wore them. So that's kind of nice. I think that the best way I can describe these is that take those original Nashville jerseys that while they were ugly, they were ugly in a fun way. They tried something new. It worked a bit. And for the time, it was kind of nice. Now take that. Now strip everything that gave that jersey character. And so the way I've always described it is like just squint looking at the Nashville's original jerseys, and that's what these look like. The one thing I can say, actually, is that this is one of those cases where the away actually looks better, I think, because it doesn't have those stupid white panels on the... and just one thing that photos, something like NHL uniforms might not show, that material's reflective on the authentic jerseys. So, and it's really scratchy, too. I don't know if you ever felt that, if you ever worn that. It's an awful material to use. And it scratches really easy. Like, if you're wearing it and you rub up against something a little rough, it'll ruin it. So, it's a jersey you can't even really wear much.
It's sheen. I think it's called sheen.
Yeah. Or garbage bag material, as some people call it.
Nashville started using it right when it started becoming unpopular. TC, your attempt at a review of this Nashville jersey?
Where to start? Let's go with those horrific patches of white at the end of the arm. There's no reason for them to be there. It, I guess, almost makes sense to have the white on the side paneling. Yeah, that's fine to break up the blue, whatever. You don't have a hem stripe, but on the arms, it's atrocious. The number font was horrific. The piping was classic bad edge piping. I think it's my least favorite collar type. It's the same collar type that Colorado uses, and if you've ever tried to put on those jerseys, it's a goddamn nightmare. It's so thin. You almost cut off all blood circulation to your head trying to put it on. Then there's the fact that it was made of the silver, I guess, can you call it an extended yoke? Like, it's not even, but that silver thing, it was made of, the only other time I've seen this material was on and one warm-up, rip-off basketball pants in the 90s. Like the cheesy shit you get at JCPenney or Kmart for like $7 on the clearance rack. That's what this was made out of. And the most infuriating thing about it is it just stops. At the back of the neck where the Reebok logo is, it just stops. It doesn't stop on the away jersey. It continues. But on the home jersey, it's inexplicably blue.
I'm just noticing this now. Oh, fuck you, Reebok. What
the fuck?
What a piece of trash.
It's like, you know what they probably call it? You know what? If this was released today, there'd be like a big Twitter. Modern design trends. and Nashville's commitment to progress. We stopped the yokes to allow for a curved head to signify the team's forward momentum and our drive for success.
It allows
at least when Colorado did it, they did it on both of theirs.
Yeah.
So they could pretend that they didn't notice what a terrible design it was. But these guys, it's like they noticed, but they already had the home jerseys made up. So they said, shit, we'll just get it the second time around.
That's not a panel. They had to cut off the pipe. Look at it. It's not a panel. It's not just... It's a choice. You're right. It's not just like okay, we can make it this or this. No, it's like they had to sit there and go, no, here's how we're going to do it. Like, what the fuck, Nashville? Oh my God. Like it literally looks like it's a bucket fill. This thing's a fucking bucket fill.
One there. Oh, that's a mistake. One there. One there.
We'd call that on the blog. We'd call that an execution error.
That's an execution error.
Execution at Reebok. Execution.
Someone submits that. I see you put the yoke. The yoke on the back finishes on your road version, but on your home version, it doesn't keep going. Let's go to Bpoe. What else can you say here?
Well, this was subtly just touched on, but I know it's an adaptation of their original jersey, which it surprisingly isn't far off from the original jersey, but this just looks literally like a paint bucket fill. It looks nothing more than that. Especially with the aforementioned yoke cutting off. I don't know if it would be better if the road did that or not. I honestly don't know if that would be better or not, just to keep it consistent. It's hard to look at, honestly. The piping is awful. I think the two best things going for this one is I oddly like the way that the yellow outline looks on the logo, just on its own, because there's no yellow almost anywhere else aside from the piping and stuff. It's not like yellow's a prominent color. And that Stanley Cup winning goal scorer Patrick Hornquist has worn this jersey in the past. Also, did I mention the logo? It's awful.
That logo was awful, and we saw from the simple change that they made how effective just quieting down the logo could be. But
I always hated that logo as a little kid before I knew anything about logo design, and apparently I was on the right track because
I don't know. I liked it.
In this jersey's defense, at least top of a triangle under text like the away jersey did.
Oh, I like that. Like that's classic Nashville.
That's because you have traumatic brain injury.
I can't tell if he's being serious or not at this point.
Yes, traumatic.
And that's that actual thing. It's not just because that's my name.
This is just...
Also, real quick with the reflective fabric, the Penguins also used that in their pre-edge uniforms. However, it was on small stripes. At least it's on the ones that are in my closet. It was on small stripes. This is on a gigantic-ass shoulder yoke thing. It looked okay on the Penguins one because it was in such a small area. Why would you put it on an entire shoulder yoke? Just why?
Because you're Nashville.
It's Reebok. Honestly, every year, Reebok's original Edge jerseys, just like 07-08, we can agree, was probably the worst year in NHL history jersey-wise.
Yeah, I can
Well, in
agree.
all fairness,
Yep.
I think Nashville's original jerseys had the reflective fabric, too, before.
No, it did, but it would, honestly, they weren't the only team doing it. It was trendy. And honestly, that fabric didn't die until it took the Dallas Mavericks making a whole jersey out of it to kill that in 2003, 2004. Literally, after that jersey, the fabric went away because people realized when you use too much of it, you look like a trash bag. So everybody became really self-conscious, like, I don't want to be the next trash bag jersey.
There's not much more we can add here, but I used to think that whole Pittsburgh, Tampa, Ottawa template was Reebok at its worst, but after talking here on this podcast, this may be Reebok at its worst. There's nothing about this jersey that looks nice. There's nothing about the set, even though we're not talking about the set, but there's nothing about the set that makes sense. This, I'm going to say, is Reebok at its worst. It looks like their intern was given the job of doing Nashville's jersey, and the intern just lied his way into the job and now is stuck with doing paint bucket fills.
Anderson, it happened again.
I don't know how to use Illustrator. Is that a problem?
I used paint to make half of these, and the other half, my mom made me.
Honestly, comparing this and Dallas's original Edge black jersey side by side, it almost gives an argument to Dallas.
Would have been a fine alternate.
All right, let's go to the
Dallas's didn't need an explanation. It was just a giant middle finger to Reebok. That was all the explanation I needed.
You won't make us the jersey we want? Fine.
Yeah, here you go.
This is what they made.
All right, let's move to the Edmonton Oilers home jersey from the same season. This is their Navy jersey. Bpoe, let's start with you. Give us your thoughts on this thing.
Well, as you guys know, I'm not a fan of black or a dark navy that almost looks like black. And this almost goes into that. And while Nashville's is also that color, it at least has some other color to break it up. I'm not saying the other color, or I guess I should say white and gray, which is hardly color. I'm not saying it's good in the way that they placed it. We just went over that. But, it's there. But overall, I'm not going to jump the gun here and actually say what I think is better. But Edmonton's at least has going for it that it's a little bit more simplistic and it's not just a clutter of elements, even though it's very plain. You've basically got the busy versus plain here. The apron striping sucks, or piping, I should say, sucks. The stripes cutting off on the sleeves sucks. But you've almost got a salvageable jersey if you just get rid of that, move the stripes all the way around the arms, and stick it on the hem.
TC?
Yeah, you've almost got a salvageable jersey if you change literally everything about it and just turn it into the previous iteration. I'm just going to do a brief monologue of the boardroom when they were designing these. Okay, guys, so we've got the worst color scheme in NHL history. What do we do now? We add some piping. We add the copper piping, the weakest color in our color scheme. We're going to throw that to the front. We're going to make that the thickest arm stripe. We're going to make that the collar. And then what do we do with the arm stripes? The one traditional hockey thing, we're going to cut them off with a full-length yoke. You want it to be a different color? No, make it the same color as the jersey. And do we want a hem stripe? Yes. No, of course not. That would be too traditional. We're going to take crappy colors, put them on a crappy template, take the one good thing about hockey jerseys, and shit on it.
It's like they got the jerseys back from Reebok after they designed it, and, like, you know, they get the actual produced product back, and they see it, it's like, why did the arm stripes stop? What the hell happened? And the intern's like, I think that may have been me. I accidentally might have clicked the paint button one too many times. Or the fill button one too many times.
I sent the old version. Oh, no.
It's taking the one thing that adds any character to this jersey and putting it in the least visible zone on a hockey jersey.
Shawn, what do you think about the Oilers jersey here?
Oh, boy. I have a certain fondness for this jersey, and I don't know what
Get out!
Not saying it's good. It really isn't. It's completely salvageable. It's so much better than the white version. Like, the white version, I think, is the worst jersey in NHL history. That's a fact. But the navy version, I just look at it and I go, this could have worked if you finished the arm stripe and made a hem stripe.
So
that's it. That's it. Like, this isn't, I don't know, I've always sort of looked at these, and I think it's just because the teams were really bad.
Exact same thing.
Back then. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I grew up on the copper red color scheme, and I like it. I really like that 96-97 away. So I think that is your ticket to making the white jersey work. But for the navy jersey, I don't know. It's one of those things where I look at it and I go, yeah, you're crap, but you don't pretend to be that you're not crap. And I mean, it's like that sort of charming dumpiness that, like, I don't know, like, not like Cleveland, but like, we're somewhere charming and dumpy. Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
And that's something everyone can relate to. Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I got you on that one.
I was going to say Scarborough, but then...
I know, I got you on that one. And that's moving.
There you go.
That's moving further east in the GTA. But anyways, we're getting a little local here. Yeah, this Edmonton jersey is just trash. You guys covered it. And I think it was TC who reminded me about the giant copper collar. I totally forgot about that. There were some jerseys from the Reebok Edge era at the time that I thought I could justify. Like, oh, look, the Islanders are making a nice little change. Or, oh, yeah, Toronto still has those two arm stripes, so it's still classic, you know. Now over time, I realize how I was just trying to justify it for myself.
I'm probably going to write a blog post about this year, but the only jerseys from this year that I think that are mildly salvageable or good are the Slug, San Jose, Philly, and the Islanders. And these are teams that made changes.
You got one there. You like San Jose.
Philly?
San Jose.
Philly? Oh, come on. In the past, you've said those Philly jerseys were fine.
No, they're awful.
Yes.
They're terrible.
Yes,
when would I say that? That is not something I said.
Said that when we were talking about our favorite Edge jerseys.
Oh, no way. I would not have said that. It sounds like for a future edition of Throwback Throwdown, we're going to have some sort of 2007, 2008 battle royale. But anyways.
Yeah, the Flyers away jersey wins every time.
Oh, God. Looking at this Oilers jersey, it's just awful. Like I was saying, I tried to justify other jerseys to myself, but from day one could never justify this thing. This thing is awful. It might as well have just been a plain navy blue jersey. Go ahead, do your stupid little copper collar there, and throw an Oilers logo on it. This thing is really bad. But now we do have to choose a winner. We're not choosing a loser. We're choosing a winner. Which jersey was better, Nashville or Edmonton? Shawn, you're up first.
Honestly, as much as you know what? Fucking give it to Nashville. You managed to make something so fucking terrible like that. It's literally like that, ta-da! I'm just picturing Dave Poley, David Legwan, fucking like up there, like it's all we got. Folks. This is it.
It's like my 5-year-old son trying to make me breakfast in bed, and you just smile. You just smile politely. And, this is great. Thank you.
Oh, strawberry jam on the eggs? I hear that's how they eat them in France.
I've been waiting for this.
You color the back of the collar? Oh, that's intentional. Oh, honey. Oh, wow.
All right, so one for Nashville there. TC, you got to choose a winner. Nashville or Edmonton?
Gotta choose a one. This is like picking the world's tallest midget. Like, yeah, they won something, but it's not a real accomplishment. I gotta go just to say how far they've gone from the previous Tiger. Nashville.
One for Nashville. Actually,
for Nashville.
Yeah,
it's two for Nashville.
Two for Nashville now. Bpoe, you going to give Nashville the win, or are you going to make this a competition?
It's a tough choice because they're both awful, but I am going to give Nashville the win for two reasons. Because, for one, looking at Edmonton, more of the pictures that I see in this jersey almost look like it's a plain jersey than actually having any stripes on it. And for two, again, Stanley Cup winning goal scorer Patrick Hornquist wore that Nashville jersey.
And as I said in the review, doing this review made me think that Nashville is Reebok at its worst, so I have to give Edmonton a point. But it means nothing.
Come on.
It means nothing because Nashville somehow wins the world's worst edition of Throwback Throwdown.
Oh, are you kidding me? We could do this with the 2007-2008 AHL jersey.
Oh, my goodness.
First year of...
They didn't switch to the Edge until the next year, right?
Oh, sorry, you're right. Okay, so the 08-09 Edge AHL jersey.
Oh,
or we could just look at the CHL and go, who's still wearing that Sens template?
Here's what we got to do. We got to do the Islanders' original black alternate versus the Buffalo Slug.
Oh, that's just not fair. Anyways, that was one of the world's worst editions of Throwback Throwdown. But now it's time for Fake or Authentic. This is my favorite part of the show. This is Fake or Authentic. This is where I've come up with 3 statements. So I'm authentic on everything. You could just say that. But it's up to the writers to respond to the statements with, just like the jerseys you see in NHL arenas, you got to say whether it's fake or authentic. Here we go. Statement number 1. TV numbers on the front of a jersey would be acceptable during preseason games. Shawn, fake or authentic?
I'd say authentic. Sure, why not? I mean... Like, teams do weird stuff like during the preseason all the time. I mean, Detroit doesn't curve their name bar until they're sure you're going to make the team to save money. Like, if they're allowed to do that, sure, stick a number on the front of the jersey. I didn't even think they looked that bad just because I'd only seen them on the Buffalo Slug in San Jose. And I was like, all right, sure. It's a dated design. And then you start seeing them in other jerseys, you're like, ugh. No. But yeah, sure. Like honestly, what are front numbers going to do to like Toronto's jerseys? Like not much, really. Just make it easier to identify who everybody is because it's not a set roster.
TC, fake or authentic?
I'm gonna go authentic just because I'm super indifferent on it for preseason games. If this was a regular occurrence, I'd say no, go fuck yourself. But I can understand that you might want to be able to know who's who from a head-on perspective. And the only reason I can think that anyone would object to this is Buffalo throwing a hissy fit about everyone taking their thing.
Bpoe?
I'm going to say fake because it doesn't matter if it's preseason. It still looks awful. but in the sense that, would I rather them do it in preseason? Sure, why not? It's still going to look awful, but if you're going to do it at all for some reason, do it during preseason. It's like the badge of honor. You get the numbers removed from the front of your jersey once you make the team.
That's good. I like that. That's good.
Get these things off.
Just, yes!
Or it's like...
Unless you play for Buffalo.
Yeah, they play for Buffalo. It's like, oh.
You keep those on, son.
Buffalo, if you play for Buffalo, you don't have numbers during the preseason. You get them put on once you make it.
Or you have this big ceremony where the coach goes up and just rips the number of everyone who gets cut.
Oh, damn, I forgot Buffalo was still wearing that on the front. It's kind of like that one guy that peaked in high school, and it's just like he's still wearing his DX shirt with the, So, like, you look at Buffalo, it's like, hey, Buffalo, how's it going? Oh, you still got the front numbers.
Yeah, we get it, Kevin. You're making a lot of money at Cutco.
You're working night shift at Cutco. Oh, I bet your parents are proud.
Okay, here we go. Fake or authentic number 2. I would not pay for a player-worn NHL practice jersey. Fake or authentic, Bpoe?
I'm going to say first, it obviously depends on the price of the jersey, but just as a general statement, I'm going to say fake. I mean, I've paid for a practice jersey that has no player on it and has not been worn in a game, I hope it hasn't been worn in a game that hasn't been worn in a practice. So if I get a player-worn practice jersey for a good price, I'll do it, so fake.
TC?
I am also going to go fake, because I actually encountered this, and the source that I found, you could get player-worn jersey by players you actually knew and had heard of for the auction starting at $19.95. Like, they're ludicrously cheap. They're just the same as a game-worn jersey, only they're a practice jersey. So if you're looking to cut costs and still get something that has your favorite player's musky scent on it, go for the practice jersey.
Shawn?
It's totally fake. It all depends on the player. Like, there's some really obscure players. He gave me an early 2000s Leaf. Oh, I jump on that like a who are we going to pick from the pile of Leafs?
Like an East Coaster on a frozen pizza.
Brad Lee.
Brad
Brad
what the
Lee
hell?
practice jersey.
An Austin Matthews 2000 practice jersey.
How big would that be?
3.
Yeah.
Ryan got it for his K. Look what I got.
He'd be like, I don't care.
He did color on it. Austin Matthews did the same thing when he was 20.
Okay. Fake or authentic number 3. The use of shootouts to end single elimination tournament games has got to stop. TC, fake or authentic?
Authentic. I don't think it should come down to a shootout in situations like that. I think it should be a team effort rather than a one-on-one, whether your scorer is going to outplay that goalie in that 1 second. And also speak as someone who lives in Atlanta, who lived through that bullshit Super Bowl where we lost in overtime because of a flip of a coin, that at any point in high-stakes games like this, it should not come down to situations like that.
So what you're suggesting is CFL overtime rules.
Yes.
If I knew what the hell those were, sure.
So like 15 years ago, the Grey Cup, which is the Canadian Super Bowl, went for like the overtime. I think it went to like double overtime between Edmonton and Montreal because they both just kept scoring. Basically, the way that works is you score each team gets 1 possession regardless. Both teams, but you have to tie.
Where do you get the ball from?
Yeah,
where do you
get
start?
The ball from?
Yeah, where do you start? Do they kick off or do you start at like the 30 or something?
Sorry, they changed that. It used to be a kickoff, but you start at the 30 now.
Okay.
And it honestly is like a shootout. It's like, but it's a shootout that makes sense because it's just like, here's a scoring play. You have 3 downs. you have to score here. Then the other team gets the ball and can either one-up you and win the game or has to tie it. But no matter what, unlike in the NFL, it's not a... It used to be in the NFL, everybody remembers this, you scored a field goal, you'd win. So basically you won the coin toss, you'd win the game. Now it's you have to score a touchdown to win on the first possession. But, yeah, getting back to the NHL and sort of that shootout thing, I hate the World Juniors for that. And granted, I'm not a huge World Juniors fan to begin with, which is like sacrilege in Eastern Canada, because for some reason people out here love it. Yeah, like, why does the World Juniors, that's supposedly the best hockey in the world, it's all, Canada-US. I see Canada-US is playing the final, I can automatically say, that's going to a shootout.
Yeah.
And why, though? Like, why not just keep playing overtime? Like, why, if this is supposedly the best hockey, like, if you go back to 09-10, the only reason the Flyers made the playoffs to make that run was that they won in a shootout against,
the Islanders? The Devils? Rangers?
No.
Rangers. It was Rangers, wasn't it? It was totally the Rangers.
Oops. Hey! But yeah, like, I don't like shootouts to begin with. I'd rather have ties than shootouts. I'll be honest.
I don't know.
That's the most Canadian thing I've ever heard.
You can't have. You can't have. Like, I'd rather have shootouts than ties because with the amount of
shootouts suck. I'm sorry. It's the only
ties are for soccer.
Yeah, but the only reason the Leafs got as bad as they did is because of the shootout.
Oh, come on now.
The only reason the Leafs got as bad as they did is because of poor management and shit players.
There you go.
Oh, no. 506. That team would have made the playoffs if there wasn't.
No, they didn't. Anyways.
Yes.
But with the amount of money that people pay for NHL tickets now, you could not have the game end in a tie. Just no way.
That's okay. I'll give you. Ryan, I'll give you that, because back in the 70s, supposedly, I don't know, I wasn't alive. None of us were alive in the 70s, but back in the day when a line brawl was expected and not a treat.
Like a wedding. Back in the 70s when a line brawl at a wedding was expected.
When men were men.
When every player had a mustache and the jerseys were really bright, and there were like 5 good teams in the NHL, and 3 of them were Montreal.
Can we reinstitute every player having a mustache? That is my NHL.
My NHL now is Philly. Okay, so we're gonna do is Philly and Ottawa have to be the asshole teams in the league. Like, they have to be the heels. Toronto and Montreal are the pretty boys. And Washington gets 5 wins.
And white pants.
Okay.
And white pants, and one of the teams has to fold, relocate to Cleveland, and then give all their players to Dallas.
And Carolina has to wear Cooperalls.
And at some point, somebody on Boston has to beat a guy with a shoe.
That's my NHL.
The reason why I bring this up is because 70s NHL tickets weren't expensive.
No, they weren't.
No, even if you adjust for inflation, they weren't expensive. And maybe that's because they had a lot of crappy markets back then. I mean, this is back in the day when Atlanta could post a winning team that locals loved. And the reason why the Atlanta Flames failed was because they couldn't get a TV license to play the games nationally, despite the fact that they made the playoffs almost every year they existed.
Are you making a case to bring back the Atlanta Flames or something?
I'm making a case that the Atlanta Flames were shafted.
It's a goddamn miscarriage of justice that the Atlanta Flames...
It is. The Atlanta Flames are the Ty Cobb of... wow, that works really well. Just totally mischaracterized because... no, instead of a crappy biography, it's the Thrashers existing. That really... Oh, the Flames are like the Thrashers. No, they weren't. But yeah... No, you make a fair point. Like, honestly, the reason why ties existed in the 70s hockey is because, you could go see them at Maple Leaf Gardens. It was $9 for good tickets to see the Leafs play the Golden Seals.
Pretty much.
And now it's $200 if you want to see them play. Back when the Thrashers existed, that was the game that all the teachers would go to at my school. They were
and no one had mustaches.
$100 tickets. This was like 2009.
That should be the next fake or authentic question. Everyone in the NHL should have a mustache. Fake or authentic?
100% authentic.
We're going. It's authentic around the clock here. Did we get to everyone on the shootouts question? Does it matter?
You missed me.
Do you want to add anything?
People's on the fence.
And I don't know. I don't want no pussy like Austin Matthews, half-ass facial hair. I want a Lanny McDonald mustache on every motherfucker on the line.
Big fucking bush hanging over that lip right there.
I want to see a goalie beat the shit out of somebody who fucked with this player the other day. Like a Ron Hextall in the league. We need a new Ron Hextall.
And he just gets like 2 minutes for roughing, and someone else has to go serve the penalty.
Somebody else serves. Yeah, or like a Billy Smith. Or
yeah.
We need a bad guy goalie back in the league. Like, we have none of that. Like, you know what, Peter Mrazek? We hear all about your attitude problems in Detroit, and that's why you got kicked out. Now you're in Carolina. Like, I want you to take your stick and just club a guy on, like, Columbus, or, like, with it. Like, just lose it on, like, friggin' Jack Johnson or something.
He needs to take matters into his own hands.
Jack Johnson's not on Columbus, Shawn.
Yeah, I know.
He's on the P-Berg. The P-Berg for a ridiculous amount of money. We'll see how that works out. Anyways, that's a good amount of fake or authentic right there. It's now time to go to the mailbag. And I just want to bring up that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by my air conditioning, which has been blowing nonstop, and there's no way when it's 100 degrees right now, I'm turning off the air conditioning. So that's why you can hear a wind tunnel in the background. But let's go to the mailbag, and we got a mailbag full of questions. This is fantastic. Let's start off with Alan's question that he left. If all 31 NHL teams were getting an alternate jersey for 2018-19, how many of them do you think will abandon that jersey by the end of the season? Bpoe, we kind of left you out on the last fake or authentic, so take this one. If all 31 teams were getting alternate jerseys, how many of them do you think would abandon those jerseys by the end of the season?
I'm honestly going to say one or two, if any. I mean, teams haven't done that very often. I think the closest I can think of is the 90s with some of the crazy designs, like, for example, the Blues who never even wore it, or the Sabres, the Turd Burger. I believe they did. They kind of abandoned it midway through, didn't they? Or did they wear it out the whole way?
Year short.
Okay. So
you could even say Florida did that, like, what, 2009 with their jet blue jerseys?
Navy alternate? Yes.
Okay.
They kind of abandoned those two. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And I wouldn't really expect it to happen too much often, especially considering that Adidas doesn't yet have the track record of the 90s jerseys or like something like that extravagant, or a Turd Burger like design. They don't yet have any sort of reputation for churning out awful designs like that. I mean, the Carolina one, as we've talked about on previous podcasts, isn't good, but it at least has something for it, and it's not so awful to look at that it almost burns your eyes. So if they do turn out something like that, then I wouldn't expect it to keep going on, but there's nothing so far that leads me to think that they will.
TC, if you had to predict how many teams would abandon their alternate jersey after one season, how many do you got?
I'd say 3. I think there are going to be some teams that just have to. I'm going to say the Sabres, just because theirs is inevitably going to be garbage. I'm going to say the Red Wings, because you can never make Red Wings fans happy with a design that's not the traditional. And I'm going to say the Devils, because they are so loath to try anything outside of what they have. And the last time they did, they got a ton of shit to Adidas and messing with it. So I think those are the 3 teams that would abandon it by the end of the season.
Coming to you this summer, brought to you by Adidas, Turd Burger 2.
Oh.
Turd Burger 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Turd Burger 1 was hard enough to choke down. I don't need a Turd Burger 2. But if there's one team...
this time it's blue on the front and yellow on the back. That was our fatal mistake.
That's where we went wrong.
This time it's double burger.
And we've added 3 extra shades of gray. Whoa!
We made the buffalo reflective.
Shawn,
the eye is no longer red, it's lime green.
And now there's a front number, and even better, there's also a name bar on the bottom front hand.
Oh, that's awful. That is a, that
and
is
we
a,
stuck a crest sublimated onto the...
Oh, Shawn, if you had to guess, how many teams would abandon an alternate jersey after year one?
Abandoning an alternate jersey after year one, I mean, that's the closest thing I can think to that is when Buffalo abandoned their solid alternate after 2 years, the script alternate.
Oh, that was a good one.
The reason they felt the need to get rid of that, I don't know why. People really like that jersey, but Carolina hung on to that black alternate for nearly a decade. I can't say. I mean, maybe Carolina is the best candidate because they're just such a shit show right now.
Exactly.
It's just like I can picture Rod Brindamore just sitting there going, "Where did we go wrong?" Like they're sitting bottom, and like even Montreal's ahead of them. They're just sitting bottom of the NHL by like 10 points. Oh, where did it all go wrong? And he looks at the black alternate across the room.
You're gone. Yeah. Carolina is a shit show. I could just based on the fact that their owner, he's nuts. He could just lose it at any moment. Carolina's candidate. I could see Ottawa. They're another gong show. They could come out with a completely new alternate, but the new home and road are exceptionally popular, and the alternate is just some weird little thing. So who knows? They could be another candidate. And another situation I could see is where a team uses a Winter Classic jersey. It's really popular with the fans, so they give it 1 year as alternate status. That's where I could see.
So like what Ottawa did last year with the NHL 100.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep, how that went. So
would a team who unveils an alternate and then turns it into the home jersey next year, would that count as abandoning it?
No, because they're still using it. I don't
Yeah.
think that fits this description. Okay, let's go to this might be from one of the fine people on the podcast here with us. This has no name attached to it, but this is just
Why are there no more mustaches?
Thank you for this question, whoever left it, but it's a god-awful question. Why is a fire truck not called a water truck?
I'll field this one.
Go ahead, Shawn.
You see, the reason why is because you can't put out water. You put out water. You need fire, and flamethrower trucks are illegal in this country. I don't know. In the U.S., it's a state-by-state basis. I hear they're having a referendum in Oregon on the use of them. So maybe in your county, you're allowed to have a water truck that puts out the water. On top of that, there's something that exists called a water truck.
You can't put out water.
But think about it, though. The fire does not shoot fire. It shoots water. Why is it called a fire truck if it doesn't shoot the fire? It shoots the
Because
water.
it's driven by firemen.
That's like
Why are they called firemen? They're not on fire.
Oh, someone's
put
house
Because
is
they put the fire out.
Is a fire truck yellow or green? I'm making reference to something that you guys don't listen to.
A fire truck is very obviously red. I can never remember the color of those red fire trucks. Geez, you should all watch that documentary on Nat Geo about fire trucks. But
based on the logic of this question, it would be like someone having a flood in their basement and calling the fire truck to dry it all up.
No, you call the water truck to put out the flood.
Can you guys bring in that big flamethrower? We got to dry up the basement. Oh.
I just had a baby boy, but I didn't get a lighter for these cigars. Fire truck.
Get the water truck.
Oh, man. Fantastic questions. We need more questions like that.
Here's what I'm going to say.
In the mailbag.
Thank you to the Steve Dangle podcast for that question, whoever submitted to their Reddit, because I will fully admit that was my question that I stole from whoever that was.
Well done,
What?
Bpoe.
What?
Never admit that.
The existential memer asked that kind of question? Oh, God. Next you're going to ask if cereal is dinner rice.
Are tennis balls yellow or green?
They're green.
Tennis
Is
balls.
guacamole jam? Is guacamole jam?
Oh, guacamole's not jam. What's the
If
dumbest
fish food is
fucking
made
que-
from fish and plant food is made from plants, what is baby food made from?
Other plants. Squishy plants.
Oh, these are the kind of questions we need stuffed deep into the mailbag, and we can discover them
Get it
later
out.
on.
Wrist deep in your back.
Thanks, everybody, for sending in your mailbag questions. It's always...
Hey, wait, do we have that one for that extra special listener?
I do not have an extra special question.
Yes,
Oh.
we do.
Okay, wait
No,
a
it's a
second.
regular question from an extra special listener.
I do
Yeah,
have one
Shawn.
directed directly to me. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Yep, okay. No, I don't want to ask that one.
Thanks, Ryan.
No, nothing left in the mailbag here. We've covered
come
it all.
on. What about that? Well, I think we got one a while ago from non-traditional hockey market.
Nope, it's not coming up. I probably deleted it, you know? I probably saw it and said, that's the dumbest fucking question ever.
All right, I have it right here.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, he's opening up the envelope.
This is from the Jets 96 mailbag. It's mostly full of hate mail, letter bombs, and New York Islanders signed autograph stuff because I have the decency to defend their best jersey.
Jock
Dear
straps.
HJC podcast, I am a listener from Mexico.
We did this one.
No, we didn't.
Go ahead.
I greatly appreciate you talking about our country's hockey program. We're not the worst in the world.
No,
In my country,
you started a league a few years ago. Go ahead.
Jets 96's opinions frighten us.
We read this one.
No, we didn't.
Go ahead.
Didn't read this one.
I'm pretty sure we covered this, but go ahead. We're waiting, Jose.
Jose, I think his name's Eduardo.
Wow, that's racist.
He doesn't even have a name. Let's go.
He's not.
What?
I didn't ask this.
What, you think just when they come into your country that they get a name? You want to build a wall, don't you?
Yes,
Make
but
them pay for it.
Yes, but I want to build it around Carolina so they leave the league. But
You know what? Oh, no, I was going to go way off base. Never mind. Carry on there, Sir Mexican.
sir,
Mexico face.
in my country, Ryan's jersey's opinions frighten us, and Jets is always right. So iTunes has to put a special warning at the beginning saying that Ryan has escaped from a mental institute. We like in Mexico, all Toronto jerseys have rounded numbers. Just thought you'd like to know that.
That's so nice of these Mexicans to write in with their thoughts. Go on.
We also really like Luke Shen in our country. Sincerely yours, Eduardo from Guadalajara.
Eduardo.
From Guadalajara.
Okay, I wanted to let him finish that out. We totally read that before.
No, we didn't.
We
I
totally
remember
read that
that.
before.
I remember hearing
This is a
it
different
stop.
one. This is a different one. This is the anti-Ryan one.
The
not
only
the
difference,
anti-Jets.
the only difference
that's the
between that
thing.
one.
It must be true if multiple Mexican readers or listeners are sending in letters talking about how iTunes has to put a disclaimer that all of us have escaped from a mental institution.
Oh.
We have a huge following in Mexico. Huge following. Okay, so that is all we have for you this week on the Jersey Nerds podcast. Thanks to Shawn, TC, and Bpoe for joining me. All right, good stuff. We still have Jersey Casual shirts and stickers on sale. The HJC Open is on now, so be sure to check that out on the hockeyjerseyconcepts.com blog. You'll be able to find a tab there. Of course, there is an actual prize for the winner. Also going on right now on the blog is the second quarter vote. So the winner of that vote will move on to the Concept of the Year semifinals. We always want to know how we're doing. What do you like about the show? What do you hate about the show? We want to hear you, and we want you guys to get involved. So you can email us anytime, mailbag at hockeyjerseyconcepts.com, or connect with us on Twitter at HockeyJC. And we'd love for you guys to share the podcast with your friends. Spread the word. Get more people listening to it. Tell them about the Jersey Nerds podcast. Thanks for listening. Goodbye, everybody.